Have you ever felt as though you are on the verge of understanding something deep about life, yet something still feels off, like a missing puzzle piece? Many people find themselves grappling with the concept of universal connection, wondering how to align their personal energy with the universe and manifest their desires. The reality, however, is that your vibration, your frequency, plays a significant role in this alignment, yet few truly understand its profound implications. The quantum connection between you and the universe is not just a mystical or philosophical notion, but a deeply rooted scientific principle. It's a living, breathing energy that moves through you, around you, and binds everything together. This connection is not merely something to be understood in theory, it's something to be lived. So, how can you begin to elevate your vibration to truly align with the universe, manifest your desires, and invite the abundance you seek? Joe Dispenza, a pioneer in the field of neuroscience and spirituality, teaches us that the key to transformation lies in the alignment of mind and heart. He explains that when we change our thoughts and emotions, we literally change the energy we emit, thus transforming our reality. Carl Jung, the influential Swiss psychiatrist, also reminds us that the unconscious mind governs much of our lives, including our connection with the universe. He believed that bringing unconscious patterns to light was the first step toward true self-realization. This video will dive into these profound concepts, guiding you on the path to increasing your vibrational frequency and establishing a deeper connection with the universe. Through science, spirituality, and practical steps, you will learn how to raise your vibration, manifest your dreams, and attract the life you deserve. The quantum connection with the universe. In the vastness of the cosmos, there exists an intricate web that binds all things together. This is not just a poetic metaphor, but a fundamental principle grounded in quantum physics. At the core of this understanding is the idea that everything in existence is interconnected on a quantum level, where energy is not bound by space or time. Every thought, every action, every feeling that we have sends ripples into the fabric of this universe, influencing the world around us and shaping our experiences. Understanding this connection is the first step in truly aligning ourselves with the universe and manifesting our desires. Quantum physics, which has fundamentally altered our understanding of the universe, teaches us that particles are not isolated. Rather, they are part of a vast, interconnected field that is constantly in motion. This field is often referred to as the quantum field, or the field of potential. In this field, everything is connected. What we think, feel, and believe sends out energetic signals that affect our surroundings. This energetic exchange is not confined to physical space, but is deeply embedded in the quantum fabric that connects us to everything and everyone. One of the most important ideas to grasp here is the concept of non-locality. Non-locality is a principle in quantum physics that suggests that particles can be connected across vast distances instantaneously, without the need for a direct physical link. This means that a change in one part of the universe can instantaneously affect another part, no matter how far apart they are. In a similar way, your consciousness and energy can influence your reality in ways that might seem impossible, but are nonetheless scientifically grounded. When we understand this, we begin to realize that the connection to the universe isn't just a metaphysical concept, but a real and powerful force that governs everything in our lives. This is where Joe Dispenza's teachings come into play. Joe Dispenza, a leading figure in the field of neuroscience and quantum physics, emphasizes the importance of reprogramming our thoughts and emotions in order to align ourselves with the field of potential. According to Dispenza, our minds are not just passive observers of the universe, they are active participants in the creation of our reality. Our thoughts and emotions, when properly aligned, send powerful signals to the quantum field, directing the flow of energy in a way that attracts what we desire into our lives. Carl Jung's theories further complement this understanding by suggesting that much of what occurs in our lives is governed by unconscious patterns. Jung believed that the unconscious mind plays a significant role in our interaction with the universe. He argued that until we bring these unconscious patterns to the surface, we cannot truly understand our place in the world or access the potential that lies within us. Jung's concept of the collective unconscious suggests that there are universal archetypes and symbols embedded deep within the human psyche, which connect us all to the greater whole. This deep unconscious connection with the universe shapes the way we experience life, often without us even realizing it. So, how do we begin to tap into this quantum connection with the universe? The first step is to shift our perception of reality. We must move beyond the belief that the physical world is the only reality and start to understand that everything is energy. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs are energy, and they have a direct impact on the energy field that surrounds you. This is where the practice of mindfulness and meditation becomes invaluable. By quieting the mind and tuning into our inner world, we begin to align our frequency with the energy of the universe. Another essential practice is emotional coherence. Emotional coherence is the state in which your thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned. When you are emotionally coherent, your body and mind are in sync, and you are able to send out a powerful signal to the quantum field that attracts your desires. Joe Dispenza teaches that by training the mind and body to work together, you can begin to reprogram your energetic signature, aligning it with the abundance and prosperity you seek. One key factor in achieving this alignment is the power of intention. Intention is the conscious direction of energy toward a specific goal or desire. However, intention alone is not enough. It must be combined with an elevated emotional state, one of gratitude, love, and peace. When you set an intention, you are essentially focusing your energy and consciousness on a specific outcome. But when you combine that intention with positive emotions, you amplify the signal you send out to the universe, making it far more likely that your desires will manifest. As you begin to align yourself with the universe's energy, it's important to recognize the role of self-awareness in this process. Becoming aware of your unconscious patterns and limiting beliefs is a crucial step in overcoming the blocks that keep you from manifesting your desires. These blocks may stem from childhood experiences, societal conditioning, or personal traumas that have created a false sense of limitation in your life. The key to breaking free from these limitations is to become conscious of them, acknowledge their influence, and then actively work to transform them. The quantum connection between you and the universe is a powerful force that can transform your life. By understanding the science behind this connection and practicing techniques such as mindfulness, emotional coherence, and intention setting, you can begin to align yourself with the universal flow of energy. As you do, you will find that the universe responds in kind, offering you opportunities, abundance, and peace. The connection to the universe is not something to be sought outside of yourself. It is already within you, waiting to be awakened and harnessed for your highest good. Raising your vibrational frequency and inner alignment. There is a subtle moment in life when a person realizes that effort alone has not been the missing ingredient. Many have worked hard, studied deeply, prayed sincerely, and still felt an invisible resistance, as if something inside was not synchronized with what they were asking from life. This sensation is not failure, nor lack of merit. It is often the experience of vibrational incoherence, a state in which internal emotional patterns are misaligned with the reality one hopes to encounter. Understanding vibrational frequency begins not as a technique, but as an honest observation of how inner states quietly shape perception, decisions, and outcomes. Vibrational frequency is not a mystical label placed on emotions for comfort. It is a way of describing how the nervous system, emotional memory, and subconscious expectation operate together. Every emotional state carries a physiological signature. Calm, trust, resentment, anticipation, and fear are not abstract feelings. They are measurable states that alter breathing, muscle tension, hormonal release, and neural firing. Over time, these repeated states become familiar internal environments, shaping how the brain predicts the future. What feels like intuition is often the nervous system repeating what it has learned to expect. Joe Dispenza often describes this process as the body becoming the mind. When emotional reactions are rehearsed long enough, they no longer require conscious thought. The body anticipates disappointment before the mind has time to question it. This anticipation subtly shapes posture, tone of voice, facial expression, and choices, even when conscious intentions point in a different direction. In this way, vibrational frequency becomes less about what someone wants and more about what their system has been trained to expect. Raising vibrational frequency, then, is not about suppressing discomfort or forcing positivity. It is about expanding the nervous system's tolerance for new emotional states. Many people unknowingly remain loyal to familiar emotions because familiarity feels safe, even when it causes suffering. Anxiety, frustration, and self-doubt can feel strangely predictable, while calm presence or quiet confidence may feel unfamiliar, even threatening. The nervous system resists what it does not recognize. This resistance is often misinterpreted as fate, bad luck, or external opposition. Carl Jung's work offers a complementary lens. He understood that what remains unconscious does not disappear. It expresses itself through patterns, projections, and repeated life scenarios. Vibrational misalignment often emerges when unexamined emotional material quietly dictates behavior. Old narratives about worth, control, abandonment, or failure shape how reality is interpreted. When the inner story remains unchanged, external circumstances tend to mirror it, not as punishment but as reflection. Alignment begins when awareness softens this automatic repetition. Awareness does not immediately change the emotional state, but it creates space around it. In that space, the nervous system is no longer trapped in reflex. This is where frequency begins to shift, not through effort, but through presence. Presence interrupts the cycle of prediction. When the body senses that the present moment is not identical to the past, it begins to relax its grip on old expectations. Greg Braden often speaks about coherence as a state in which heart rhythms, brain activity, and emotional signals operate in harmony. This coherence is not dramatic. It feels simple, grounded, and quietly stable. In such states, perception changes. Challenges no longer trigger immediate defense. Silence becomes informative rather than uncomfortable. Time feels less rushed, not because responsibilities vanish, but because internal pressure eases. An important distinction must be made here. Raising vibrational frequency does not mean rejecting pain, grief, or doubt. Those states carry information. They reveal where attachment, fear, or unresolved meaning still reside. True alignment integrates these emotions rather than bypassing them. When sadness is acknowledged without resistance, it loses its grip. When fear is observed without judgment, it often reveals the desire underneath it. This integration stabilizes the nervous system, allowing frequency to rise naturally rather than artificially. There is also a biological dimension that is often overlooked. The body responds to consistency more than intensity. Sudden emotional highs followed by collapse reinforce instability rather than alignment. A regulated nervous system values rhythm, rest, and predictability. When internal rhythms become steady, perception sharpens. Intuition becomes clearer, not because something magical appears, but because mental noise decreases. Over time, alignment changes the way meaning is assigned to experience. Events are no longer immediately labeled as obstacles or rewards. They become information. This shift is subtle but profound. The mind stops negotiating with reality and begins relating to it. From this state, attraction is not something pursued. It unfolds as resonance. Circumstances align not because they are demanded, but because internal coherence allows recognition of opportunities that were previously filtered out by emotional tension. Raising vibrational frequency is ultimately a process of remembering a more natural internal order. It is the quiet return to emotional neutrality, where curiosity replaces fear and presence replaces urgency. In this state, the individual no longer feels separated from life. The universe is not experienced as an external force to convince, but as a dynamic field responding to coherence. Alignment, then, is not something achieved. It is something restored. The invisible weight of scarcity and emotional conditioning. At some point, many people notice that life seems to move forward for others while remaining strangely stagnant for them. This sensation often carries a quiet shame, a feeling that something must be wrong internally, even when there is no obvious external failure. Scarcity, in this sense, is rarely about money alone. It is an emotional atmosphere, a subtle internal climate shaped by years of conditioning, expectations, and unresolved experiences. It lives beneath conscious thought, influencing decisions long before logic is consulted. Scarcity operates through anticipation. The nervous system learns to expect limitation, loss, or disappointment, and this expectation subtly colors perception. Opportunities appear smaller. Possibilities feel risky. Even moments of progress carry an underlying tension, as if something might be taken away. This emotional posture does not arise from weakness. It often develops as a survival response. Past experiences teach the body what to brace for, and over time, bracing becomes the default state. Bruce Lipton's work in epigenetics offers an important insight here. He explains that beliefs are not abstract ideas floating in the mind. They are biological instructions. Repeated emotional states influence gene expression, hormonal balance, and neural pathways. When scarcity is rehearsed emotionally, the body adapts to it as if it were a permanent environment. This adaptation narrows perception. The brain becomes efficient at detecting threats and inefficient at recognizing expansion. What feels like realism is often conditioned vigilance. This internal vigilance creates a paradox. The desire for abundance becomes intense, yet the body remains anchored in protection. The mind imagines growth, but the emotional system prepares for loss. This internal contradiction generates fatigue, confusion, and a sense of pushing against invisible resistance. The more one tries to force outcomes, the more pronounced the tension becomes. Effort increases, while flow diminishes. Carl Jung would describe this dynamic as the shadow at work. The shadow is not inherently negative. It is composed of unacknowledged aspects of the psyche that seek expression. Scarcity often hides beneath virtues such as responsibility, caution, or humility. When these qualities are unconsciously fused with fear, they limit expansion without announcing themselves as fear. The individual believes they are being prudent, while the nervous system is quietly avoiding exposure to uncertainty. Scarcity also distorts time perception. The future feels compressed, urgent, or threatening. The present moment becomes a place to endure rather than inhabit. This temporal distortion feeds anxiety and reinforces the sense that there is never enough space, time, or energy. Life begins to feel transactional, measured by outcomes rather than meaning. In such states, even moments of rest carry guilt, as if pausing might invite loss. Joe Dispenza often emphasizes that the body cannot distinguish between an imagined future and a remembered past when both are emotionally charged. Scarcity thrives in this overlap. Past disappointments are projected forward, and the emotional memory of lack becomes a prediction. This prediction influences posture, tone, and choice in ways that quietly confirm itself, not because the universe is withholding, but because perception has narrowed. An important realization emerges here. Scarcity is not dissolved by accumulation. Many people carry it even after achieving external success. It moves from finances to relationships, from relationships to health, from health to meaning. Wherever attachment and fear intersect, scarcity finds a new home. This is why external change alone rarely produces lasting relief. Without internal recalibration, the same emotional patterns simply migrate. Abundance, in contrast, is not an emotion of excitement or excess. It is a state of internal sufficiency. It feels grounded, stable, and quietly confident. In this state, the nervous system does not scan constantly for threat. Attention widens. Curiosity replaces urgency. Decisions are made with less internal negotiation. This does not mean life becomes effortless, but it becomes less adversarial. The transition from scarcity to sufficiency begins with recognition rather than resistance. Scarcity loses much of its power when it is observed without judgment. When the body senses that fear is being witnessed rather than obeyed, it begins to soften. This softening creates space. In that space, new emotional patterns can emerge, not through force, but through familiarity built over time. Greg Braden speaks of coherence as a biological and emotional state in which the heart and brain send consistent signals. In coherence, scarcity has difficulty surviving, not because it is suppressed, but because it no longer dominates perception. The system is no longer fragmented. Internal communication improves. The individual experiences fewer internal contradictions, and life begins to feel less like a struggle for control and more like a dialogue. Scarcity also dissolves when meaning is restored. When experiences are interpreted solely through outcome, fear dominates. When experiences are allowed to carry symbolic or developmental meaning, tension decreases. Challenges become informative rather than threatening. This shift does not remove difficulty, but it removes the sense of personal deficiency attached to difficulty. Over time, Emotional conditioning can be rewritten through lived experience rather than intellectual affirmation. As the nervous system encounters moments of safety, trust, and stability, it updates its expectations. Scarcity gradually loses relevance. Abundance is not declared, it is recognized. It appears as an internal quietness that allows life to unfold with less resistance. The invisible weight of scarcity lifts not when the world changes, but when the inner relationship with uncertainty transforms. In that transformation, the universe is no longer perceived as something to fear or persuade. It becomes a responsive field, meeting coherence with coherence and openness with possibility. Emotional coherence and the silent architecture of manifestation. There comes a moment when a person realizes that thoughts alone have never been the true architects of change. Thoughts initiate movement, but emotions decide direction. Beneath intentions and affirmations exists a quieter structure, one built from emotional memory, bodily signals, and unconscious expectation. This structure operates continuously, shaping how reality is perceived and responded to. Emotional coherence emerges when this internal architecture begins to function as an integrated whole rather than a collection of conflicting signals. Emotional incoherence often feels like internal noise. A person may desire peace while the body remains tense, long for connection while the nervous system stays guarded, or seek abundance while carrying a persistent sense of insufficiency. These contradictions are rarely conscious. They live in the subtle layers of sensation, posture, breathing, and reflexive emotion. When these layers are misaligned, manifestation feels strained, as if life is being negotiated rather than lived. Joe Dispenza frequently describes coherence as the moment when the heart and brain begin to communicate in a unified rhythm. This rhythm is not poetic language. It reflects measurable physiological synchronization. When emotional states stabilize, heart rate variability improves, neural patterns soften, and the body exits survival mode. In this state, the system no longer sends mixed signals to the environment. Instead of projecting urgency, fear, or control, it emits clarity and steadiness. This steadiness profoundly alters perception. When emotional coherence is present, challenges no longer trigger immediate reactivity. The pause between stimulus and response widens. In that pause, choice becomes possible. This is where manifestation quietly changes its nature. It stops feeling like an act of will and begins to resemble alignment. Outcomes arise not through insistence, but through resonance. Carl Jung's understanding of individuation offers valuable insight into this process. Individuation is the gradual integration of conscious and unconscious elements of the psyche. Emotional incoherence often signals internal fragmentation, where parts of the self remain unheard or unacknowledged. When these parts operate independently, they generate contradictory impulses. Coherence begins when the individual allows internal dialogue rather than internal suppression. This dialogue does not require resolution of every conflict. It requires honesty and presence. Emotional coherence also reshapes time. In incoherent states, the future feels threatening and the past feels heavy. Memory and anticipation dominate awareness. In coherent states, attention settles into the present without effort. The present moment becomes sufficient. This temporal grounding reduces anxiety and restores a sense of internal safety. From this safety, creativity and intuition re-emerge. It is important to recognize that coherence is not emotional numbness. It does not eliminate sadness, grief, or uncertainty. Instead, it allows these states to move without becoming permanent identities. Emotions pass through rather than take residence. The body processes experience instead of storing it. Over time, this processing prevents emotional accumulation, which is often mistaken for fate or personality. Greg Braden speaks of the heart as an intelligent center, capable of organizing emotional experience. When emotional signals are coherent, the heart acts as a stabilizing reference point. Decisions made from this center carry a different quality. They are less reactive and more responsive, less defensive and more discerning. This shift subtly influences behavior, communication, and presence, altering how others respond in return. Manifestation in this context becomes less about attraction and more about permission. Emotional coherence creates internal permission for experiences that previously felt incompatible with identity. A person who unconsciously identifies with struggle may find ease unfamiliar. Coherence gently dissolves this identification. As internal resistance fades, external opportunities feel less intrusive and more natural. There is also a symbolic dimension to coherence. In many spiritual traditions, harmony is described as alignment between inner and outer worlds. When internal signals conflict, the outer world mirrors that fragmentation. When internal signals align, reality reflects that unity. This reflection is not mystical punishment or reward, it is relational feedback. Emotional coherence also restores trust, not as blind optimism, but as grounded confidence. Trust emerges when the nervous system no longer anticipates collapse. This trust does not guarantee specific outcomes, but it reduces the need for control. Control, when excessive, constricts perception. Its absence allows life to reorganize in unexpected ways. Over time, coherence transforms identity itself. The individual no longer defines themselves by emotional fluctuations or external circumstances. Identity becomes rooted in presence rather than performance. This rooting stabilizes self-perception and reduces comparison, urgency, and self-doubt. Life feels less like a test and more like a process of unfolding. The silent architecture of manifestation rests on this coherence. Without it, effort multiplies and results diminish. With it, effort becomes focused and results emerge organically. Emotional coherence does not promise ease, but it restores integrity. In that integrity, the universe is encountered not as an obstacle to overcome, but as a field responding to internal order with external alignment. At the deepest level, the journey toward a quantum connection with the universe is not about gaining something new, but about releasing what no longer belongs. Throughout this path, it becomes clear that alignment is not achieved through force, repetition, or constant striving. It emerges when inner fragmentation softens and coherence quietly takes its place. What once felt like resistance reveals itself as miscommunication between mind, body, and emotion. When this communication reorganizes, life responds with subtle but undeniable shifts. Connection with the universe is not an abstract idea reserved for special moments or rare individuals. It is a continuous dialogue that unfolds through emotional states, perceptions, and choices. When vibrational frequency stabilizes, scarcity loses its authority, urgency dissolves, and meaning replaces anxiety. The universe does not demand perfection or relentless positivity. It responds to authenticity, presence, and internal consistency. In this space, manifestation no longer feels like asking for permission. It feels like recognizing what has always been available. The teachings explored here point toward a quiet truth. Change does not arrive through dramatic transformation, but through sustained inner honesty. Emotional coherence reshapes identity, not by erasing pain, but by integrating it. Abundance ceases to be something pursued and becomes something allowed. The universe, once perceived as distant or silent, reveals itself as responsive, reflective, and relational. When internal alignment becomes the priority, external outcomes reorganize naturally. Life begins to feel less like a struggle against circumstances and more like participation in a living process. This is the essence of the quantum path. Not control, but resonance. Not effort, but coherence. Not separation, but relationship. As you sit with everything explored here, a single question remains. What would change in your life if your inner state no longer argued with the future you sense is possible? If this reflection resonated with you, subscribe to the channel so you can continue exploring these deeper layers of consciousness, alignment, and transformation. Stay with us on the final screen to continue this journey and discover what unfolds when inner coherence becomes your natural state.